Hello everyone, today we will have a talk with Janko Tipsarevic, ex-Serbian professional tennis player, number 8 player in the world, and we will discuss with Janko not only how to become a high-level world-class athlete, but also how to become successful after you finish your sports career. Hey Janko, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you, Alex, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Janko, a lot of information about you on the internet as of you as a sportsman, as an athlete, but not so much information about you. What are you doing after you finished your sports career? I saw that you have your sports academy, that you are developing Tipsarevic luxury, which probably you will explain now what is it. So as a Janko Tipsarevic outside of sport, as a Janko Tipsarevic today, what are your current business activities that you are in today?
I retired from professional tennis 4.5 years ago, and not to go too deep into history, a big benefit in disguise, believe it or not, was a very turbulent period of last several years of my professional career. As a professional athlete, especially if you're playing well any sport, you live in this dream world where you do your thing, you train, you play tennis or football or basketball or hockey. People pay to watch you play. It's a big privilege that the very few athletes are actually realizing what they're playing. And you don't really have a real concept about the actual normal life. Mm-hmm. Last several years of my career, I had 8 surgeries, everything on actually 7 of them on my legs and 1 of them on my shoulder. So because of these ups and downs, I unfortunately at that time spent a lot of time away from the court, which was not mentally and physically easy, but it gave me an opportunity to really, even though I had it from before, but to develop this sense of how do I want my life to look like when I stop playing, which eventually will happen at that point in a year, 2 or 3. We started the Tipsarevic Tennis Academy 11 years ago already. Mm-hmm. So at that time I was still competing, I was still top 10, but I already had a vision as relatively young at that point that I want to stay in sports. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of colleagues and athletes that, and there's nothing wrong with that, with this, they decide to go into different industries. And some of them are successful, but some of them or most of them are not, because you have to, as we say in Serbia, you have to pay the school to learn from your mistakes. So I knew from the start that I'm in this industry already. I love tennis as a sport, and I saw an opportunity that not a lot of people were able to monetize it in the right way after their career. 1 academy became 2 in Belgrade, 2 became 3. Hopefully very soon a 4th one is coming. And we started developing our franchising system in terms of how are we developing young players. Not to go too much into specifics because we'll probably talk about it later during the podcast. But we, over the last several years, we have opened academies in Germany, Spain, Thailand, an upcoming one, which I'm very happy about, in Los Angeles in middle of May, and several other projects during this year, which I won't talk about now because they're far-fetched. So this is one aspect of the business. Several academies in Belgrade and several academies worldwide. The second aspect is called Tipsarevic Luxury Tennis. And the idea started, believe it or not, right before COVID. Mm-hmm. I saw an opportunity where I thought, when you go to these luxury resorts or hotels or country clubs, such as Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons or Mandarin Oriental or whatever, I always saw, and I had the privilege to go to most of them, that tennis was never on the line of the experience of what other areas of the resort, island, or wherever you go have to offer. So when you go normally to these incredible locations, the view is amazing, the food is amazing, the staff is very polite, the room is great, the food is great. But I always tend to see that tennis as an experience is never on par or on the same line like other aspects of that particular business. And people pay, generally a lot of money to go to these places. So after a while, I decided to open a company that would purely focus on taking over the responsibility from resorts, hotels, and country clubs in terms of organizing and managing tennis and paddle experience. Because for most of these guests, nobody's going to win Wimbledon by staying in Ritz-Carlton, Maldives. But for some of the guests, tennis is a big part of their stay, of their vacation, of their trip. Tennis, yes, tennis is the third, fourth most popular sport in the world if you calculate amateurs and juniors and kids and parents and professionals. So COVID actually, I know this is terrible to say, but helped us because the hospitality industry was hit very hard, and big hotel chains were looking for something new that they could offer their guests. And no other company was really, there are several on the market, but none of them, in my humble opinion, are doing as serious of a job as we are. So in the first year and a half, we signed basically 15, 16 hotels and 2 country clubs. We started growing even too fast because I couldn't at that time really control the quality in this first boom. So then we pulled back. I said, no more, spreading. Let's focus on maintaining what we have. And we signed additional 4 or 5 resorts, hotels, and 2 additional country clubs. And now we decided to spread slowly, like in terms of keeping the quality, controlling the quality, and growing as a company should.
So resorts are coming to you in order to do it, right?
We do. There are several, and I still feel very happy and proud about it to this day when we get approached first from a resort. But in all honesty, we are the ones that are doing the pitching, the sales, and everything else. It's either through personal connections, LinkedIn, emails, all sorts of way how you do sales. And what I always say, the name, this is what I think, and I know this sounds maybe stupid. The name Tipsarevic means nothing. Like a lot of professional athletes, they stay prisoners of the past. And because they live in the past, they believe that they deserve something in the future.
But they are past achievements.
They are past achievements, which the only thing that they're bringing to the business side of the future you is credibility. Irrelevantly if you're a good or a not successful or a not successful businessman or entrepreneur, nobody can take away the credibility of what you did in your sport, depending on the level that you achieved. But this has absolutely no merit in terms of how you are running a business and is your business of high quality. So I even go to such extremes that in my professional ATP career, I won somewhere around 16, 17 trophies for finalists, winning tournaments, doubles, everything else. Almost all of them I threw away in the garbage or gave away.
Like literally?
Literally. Literally.
In order not to have those
yes.
things in your head.
Because these things, I believe, essentially psychologically are reminding you. And again, I'm not recommending this to anyone, and I believe this is stupid. I still feel pain to this day when my 10-year-old daughter tells me, "Hey, Daddy, like, show me some of your trophies," and I say, "Okay, they are in the trash." But they are, even though I should be proud of them, which I am internally, they are nothing more but a psychological reminder of what you were 5, 10, 15 years ago. And if you want
in
to...
another area of your life.
Yes, in
completely.
another part, in another area, remotely connected to what I'm doing right now. But even if this is the case, let's say in none of our academies, there's not a single picture of me. One of the things that I'm most proud of is when young players or kids, which, let's say 12, 13-year-old kids are coming to our academy, they don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for somebody who is ego tripping, this would be like, okay, how come you don't know who I am? But for me, I am so happy and proud about it that the kid or the parent decided to entrust us for a week, a month, or a year without knowing who I actually am. This is actually meaning that we are doing a good job on the tennis court, which is later on translating into revenue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And with so many activities, you are doing 5 academies, this Tipsarevic Luxury, such a big brand. What do you do on daily basis yourself as a business owner? What are your responsibilities?
A big benefit is that I have this fire to work all day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a very social person. I have obviously a family, 2 kids, and right before this trip, I bought 2 dogs. So like and I know you're coming from basketball, and I named them Kobe and Shaq, 2 the smallest dogs you can find, the small Pomeranians.
Yeah.
So I have enough like in my hands. Kids go to school, whatever. So my day looks like that. I wake up between 5 and 6 every morning, work all day, not because I have to, but because I want to, and I go to bed around 8, maybe 9 o'clock. In terms of the actual work that I do, one of the things that I'm proud about is that I was able, because if you calculate all the stuff, including the coaches, the maintenance, the restaurant that we have, the international freelancers, the coaches that we take care of in different locations, I would say it's well above like 120, 130 people. And I understood very early that if I want to grow my business, I need to allow other people to fail.
Work independently.
To work independently and fail, and have the patience to do it. There's a great story on TED Talks, which I saw that there's a, I'll try and make it short. It's a story about 2 entrepreneurs where one of them was making all the decisions by himself and surrounding himself with people that will just help him out. And the other one was surrounding himself with a crew and allowing them to make decisions and trying to just guide them how he sees the vision. So in the beginning, the first entrepreneur grew the company much faster because he had the fire, he knew what exactly to do, he had the vision. But he came to a point where he couldn't grow anymore because he was surrounding himself with people that couldn't do anything if he doesn't make the decision. And the second company grew slower, but it came to a point that it entered a so-called snowball effect. That it's basically, I don't want to say growing by itself, but I believe in this karma that good, high-quality people with a similar mindset attract similar people. People in your company that are high-quality workers, decision makers, serious people will later on attract like-minded people to be on similar positions. And as the company grows, they grow, which means you grow, which means everything grows. So after so many years, I really don't make a lot of daily decisions. Both companies are running independently, and I overview them and focus on growth. If there is a additional deal to sign, if there is somebody that I need to talk to, somebody, I still go on a lot of Zoom calls during the day. I'm the one that has to. I sound like it's a bad thing. That will go to LA in like 2-3 weeks from now, and hopefully close the deal. But in terms of daily decisions, no. Like, it comes even to this point that I personally don't decide which new coaches are we hiring. They go through me, of course, but I'm not the one that does the first or the second interview. And I'm happy about that, honestly. Not because I have more time or I want to work less. No, I would like that a day has 45 hours so I can work 30. But it's something that I feel very happy and proud about, that after the tennis career, I was able to create like a mini world or cosmos, which is functioning separately of my daily decisions.
And you're in charge mostly of just making these people happy. And
I mean, to be honest with you, overviewing the decisions that my team is making. Like, in terms of, very often in the academy, I don't want to sound like unprofessional or anything, but I say, I don't know. This is not my decision. There's a guy for this that you need to talk to. And then for bigger decisions, like, it's me making bigger decisions, and I'm not acting like Jeff Bezos now. Bigger decisions in terms of overviewing where we want to go and spending time on the tennis court with kids. These are the two things that I do. In terms of mostly everything else, there are people that do their jobs.
And I want to ask, how did you come to, because you think like a real businessman, and even not so many businessmen are thinking in that way, in terms of, let's put it this way, a lot of athletes after they finish their sports career cannot find themselves in life, whether they spend on the money or some bad investments, whether they just, I don't know, made something, whatever, if you are successful, few $1 million, if you are less successful, $100,000, and they are just trying to spread those money as long as they can in order to find themselves. But it's very rarely that some athlete after successful sports career becomes successful somewhere after his sports life. And you are an example of the person who was like world-class successful as an athlete and now successful as a person outside of the sport. So like, did someone, for example, suggest you how to do investments, how to do the business, or to everything you came by yourself with your thoughts, with your experience?
I was very fortunate and lucky that over the course of my tennis career and then after, I'm saying had because he died middle of last year, an incredible mentor called Dirk Hordorf. He was basically like a second father to me, who first of all taught me the value of money. My father was, because he's in pension, he's still alive, a physical education professor. My mother finished law and decided to be a housewife. So I'm coming from very modest roots. So the first lesson was teaching me the value of money. Even though I was playing good tennis and earning good money, he was always telling me, don't forget that your father is working for 400 euros. Never forget this. Okay, here's your check on this tournament for $100,000. Don't forget that your father is working for 400 euros in a school, or was working. So very early on, I was never, this was the first thing. I was never spending stupid money on unnecessary luxury things. Of course, you buy maybe a nice car, a nice watch, a nice whatever, something else. But most of my early money was being spent on real estate. I had this vision and idea that while I'm playing, I don't have the time to do actual business. So what is the safest aspect of me turning over my money while I focus on my forehand? And this was real estate. So I never actually on my bank account had a lot of money, because as soon as I gathered it, I bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 apartments. And then later on in the second stage, when I needed some of that money to reinvest in academies or businesses, whatever, we sold several of them we kept. So I understood very early the old saying that like cash means nothing. Like if you have cash in the bank, this is just sitting there, and because of, especially now, because of global devaluation of money, you are basically losing it. And the second part was again I consider myself fortunate, because I didn't feel, you mentioned something about athletes that were, you know, they finished their career, and I'm not talking about the ones that spent and burned the money. I'm talking about the ones that saved money, but they don't do anything after, which is nothing wrong. But I feel that they look at their career, okay, I am suffering now for 25 years of my life, because most of these athletes started training when they were 7 years old. Now I am 35 or 36, I retire, and for the next 40 years, I just want to relax because I suffered for the first 35. And I never looked at it like that. I think, well, I know it in my example, but generally I think that what keeps you normal and what keeps you sane is actually the work. Now, for some people it's religion. I personally am not religious. But what keeps you normal and essentially being a better example for your kids, for your surroundings, for your wife, for everybody around you, it's actually the work. It's not, you know, spending money on because I have it and I'm enjoying. Now, again, this is not a knock on athletes or whoever decided, okay, I want a quiet life without excitement. I want to be this or that or whatever. This is just personally not who I am. And because of this, I am not a perfect husband or father, because I very often overwork. Coming home, you know, probably nervous, not setting a best example for you know, my kids and wives in some days, but I would rather have that than, okay, what do I do today? Who do I call to go and have a coffee? No, sorry.
Basically, it became your new sport.
It became my new way of life. And as I say, there's a saying in Serbia, it makes no sense in English. It's not the work that kills you. It's the non-work that actually psychologically is killing you, and you are regressing as a person. And I feel, especially I'm 40 years old, or I will be in the summer, these are the best years for you to work and to improve as a person. Like, there has to be a reason for you why you wake up in the morning. And I guess again, coming from very modest roots, it's not like my family was successful entrepreneurs, so they taught me. But I consider myself very lucky that I still very much have this passion.
And in terms of academy, how did you came, first of all, to the idea of academy? You said you want to stay in sport, but like
the first, and I'm putting air quotes, academy was actually 3 courts. And
so how was that? You found some...
We actually took over. When I say took over, we rented a club that me and Ana Ivanovic grew up.
Some existing
club that nobody was taking care of, and we rented it for whatever 10 years. And it started being profitable from the very beginning because we found good coaches. And
that was high performance.
This was high performance. I immediately had a vision to start like that, because I always, like, if you have a tennis club, tennis club can have a very positive culture on the surrounding because it's sport. When you go to, I always feel good when I go to sport facilities, because I feel it's good vibes, it's good people that are coming there, you know. But I wanted a little bit more. I wanted a system. Essentially, like at that time, when I was still playing, this was 11 years ago, I didn't have a clear vision like, okay, I know that in 10 years this or that will happen. But I know I wanted to create a system. How do you develop young players? Because as I told you a story for the luxury side of the business, for the academy side of the business, in my 17 years on tour, I went to a lot of, 17 years on ATP tour plus junior, whatever, 7, 8 more years. I went to a lot of academies, you know, and I feel, first of all, that the word is being thrown and used very likely by everybody. I feel it's just like a fancy, sexy word that if you say academy, everybody's thinking, wow. But when I went to all of these, at that time was like IMG or Bolitieri or whatever academies, I saw that, okay, what is an actual academy? An actual academy, the first word that comes to my mind, this place needs to have a culture, needs to have a way. How are we believing, or how is our player development happening? And this I actually got from one of the assistant coaches of Football Club Barcelona while I was living and practicing there. And I will never forget, I forgot his name, but I never forget what he told me. When you come to Football Club Barcelona, this was many years ago when Iniesta and Messi and Xavi and like golden age of Barcelona. When you come to Football Club Barcelona from a very young age, you don't play football how you want. You play how the system is telling you to play, and then within the system, you find your individual qualities. Which is actually, in my opinion, what should be the story of developing young players. Tennis, as any sport, has rules. Rules that you need to obey, like you obey certain rules on a chessboard. And these rules are also translating in terms of how are you actually following the progress and the development of a young player. Now, what I saw is that a tremendous amount of coaching is being done on a day-to-day basis. What do I mean by that? You go to an academy and you sit, I imagined it like this. You sit on a terrace and you watch 5 courts. And you see that the coach on court number 1 is saying, you're not bending your legs. And the coach on court number 2 is saying, you are not using enough wrist. And coach number 3 is saying, you're not turning your head. While all these things may factually be true, because these are technical errors in executing a shot, you can feel that these so-called academies, they have no way. They have no energy in terms of, this is our, even if it's the wrong way, this is our way, how are we developing young players? This, I'm not saying it doesn't exist anywhere, but it's very rare, even in this day, to find.
You're trying to say that every coach just does how he sees it, and there's no like group.
This doesn't mean that they're bad coaches. This means that this coach is seeing this and saying that. And coach number 5 and coach number 7. But in successful organizations, there is a highway that everybody is following. Now, my passion was always biomechanics of footwork. I believe that this is the things that coaches need to focus on, because when you're developing a young player, the thing that they should actually try to copy is Roger Federer's footwork, not Roger Federer's forehand. Because if you look at the top 5 forehands, I'm going too technical right now, but if you look at the best 5 forehands in the history of our sport, and you look at Nadal playing like this, and Roger playing like this, and Del Potro playing like this. So if you look at, and Fernando Gonzalez or Kyrgios or whoever, so if you look at the technical execution of what you are doing with your upper body, it's very individual. My forehand grip is maybe fitting for me, but it's not fitting for you. And my backhand swing is maybe good for me, but it's not good for you. But if you closely look at the footwork of the best players in the world, it's 60, 70, 80, 90% exactly the same. And these are the things and the patterns that you need to completely focus on when you develop young players. And I feel that a lot of coaches, what they focus on is the last thing what is happening. This means striking the ball. And when the ball goes to the net, guess what's the advice? Play with a little bit more spin. Wait. Where is your split step? Where is your ritual of executing the forehand? I always say, and all of our coaches, your next forehand is beginning as soon as your previous forehand is ending. You have this, you're coming from basketball, you have this as a part of your training in basketball, in football, in other sports, which is called moving and positioning without the ball. So because it's a team sport and it's only one ball, there is a lot of I don't want to say technique, but preparation, what you're actually doing in your offense or defense when you don't have the ball. In tennis, this basically doesn't exist. Because nobody is paying attention. What are you actually doing when you're not hitting the ball? Of course, a lot of coaches are saying, yes, move your feet. But sorry, what does this mean? This means nothing. How are you moving? Which leg goes first? How are you returning? How are you creating space? And this is one of the detrimental points in developing young players. And the main reason why we are, I mean, I don't even want to say successful, why are we growing as an academy and as a company?
And as you mentioned before, when some sports projects, or let's say sports academies, are named under some big sports names or brands, or whatever, and usually then they don't have a balance between business and quality. For example, some academy is called by whatever sport, by
any name,
any big name, and usually whether they attract clients by their name, but usually whether they are too commercial, whether they are trying to do quality, but business side of the work is lacking. So how do you manage to keep the balance between the business and player development, giving quality to the clients?
Listen, I can sit here and tell you that every single possible detail of every single possible kid in every single corner of the world of every single Tipsarevic Academy is being thought of, but I would be lying to you. But how do you, and I'm not comparing us to what I'm about to say, how are you keeping the quality in one and only, in 4 seasons? In hospitality is my other passion, so a lot of the times I always wondered, how is it possible that the level of almost everything in very extreme high quality, whether if this is a Nobu restaurant or a 4 Seasons hotel or anything very, very high quality, is the same in Moscow or New York or Tokyo or Sao Paulo?
So you mean standards?
Standards. But the main part about keeping these standards is execution and continuous repetition. And you do this by, in years of work, sorry, this is our 11th, 12th year. We are not an old company, but we didn't start yesterday. Finding a good crew, a good team of people that you can entrust to control is too strong of a word, but overviewing what other areas of your business are doing. So even though the company still, which might be changed in the future, has my name, this doesn't mean that I control all of these things. But I personally, together with the help of Darko Plavetic, our head of development, I wrote a 300-page book in terms of how do I believe in. I'm saying it's better to have a wrong way than not to have a way at all. This is what I believe and what our team believes. How is it that you develop young players? So this is one part of the thing. All of these 300 exercises, which are written down, drawn up, everything, are followed by 312, I believe right now, self-explanatory videos of 1 minute. How is this being done?
And do coaches that come to you, do they actually study it? Like, do they pass some test, exam?
Some of them, and you know, in the last several years, it was more difficult for traveling due to COVID, but we have seminars where coaches are coming to us, and they have to pass these tests. They have to pass the education course, which is generally sometimes even over a month long, where we provide everything. And then they go, and then they come back, and they go, and they come. But this continuous, again, I don't want to say control because it sounds terrible, but essentially it is control quality. And we are doing the best we can. But I can promise you one thing. Brands that we work with don't give a shit that 10 years ago I was number 8. Nobody cares about this. If we are dropping in quality, we are getting fired. Okay, we got fired a few times in terms of breaking the contract because of this or that, but I would say we're on a good way. This means we're doing something right. And as we are growing, as I told you on the beginning, I believe, of the podcast, like-minded people attract like-minded people. So you enter this snowball effect with people with same qualities in life and in everything are and somehow being attracted to you. But a lot of years had to pass that we come to this point.
And what difficulties did you have when you were building your business? Did you have any like serious fails? Did you have any, I don't know, bad investments, serious mistakes?
I had, again, this is the third time people will think that I was born under a lucky star, but I wasn't. I was very fortunate that I had several fails and good luck that I didn't go into other areas. So let's say I invested like 60,000 euros into a pancake and waffle carts around Belgrade that never picked up. I invested in a restaurant that never, a different restaurant, not the one we have in the academy, that never picked up. I was very close in investing a serious portion of my portfolio into agriculture in Serbia. It probably would have worked, but this would have taken me in a different area. But because I failed, I saw that, okay, this is not what I want to do. But I was fortunate enough that I didn't lose
too much,
€1 million or 2 million euros. So this was the one thing, again, with good luck. And the second part, the biggest challenge in the beginning that I had, I guess this was like a sports ego, where I thought that when and if I say or explain something, that this will stay like this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally forever, but I had to learn the hard way. Just the fact that I say something to my employees or the coaches or whatever, this doesn't mean that this will stay like this forever.
Mm-hmm. In what way? I didn't understand.
We do things like this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still calling you tomorrow to ask, okay, how's it going?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking you, did you do it? Because
Mhm.
if you do this, then the people working, I don't want to say for you, with you,
Mhm.
will never grow.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you turn into a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
But this constant overview of controlling how the system or
Mhm.
the book of standards
Mm-hmm.
should actually look like, this is something that I needed to go through my psyche and through my mind several years.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen like natural to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if I go back to me, I was I want to say, very good boy in terms of listening to all of my coaches. For
Mhm.
me as an athlete,
Mhm.
if my coach, and I had a Russian coach,
Mhm.
very hard Russian coach for
Mhm.
10 years.
Mhm.
And after him, the second coach was German, but
Mhm.
very German.
Mhm.
So I'm used to when my coaches are telling me, you do this, for me, there is no other option.
Mhm.
I die or I do this. There's no third maybe.
Mhm.
So then I thought when I am doing my business that when I say something, this stays like this
Mhm.
forever.
Mhm.
Because I thought if I could do it, then somebody else could do it.
Mhm.
But sadly or luckily, this is not how you run a business.
Mhm.
Constant quality control is something that is helping you not only to grow, but not to regress and not to go backwards.
Mhm. Mhm. And as you said before, when you are doing professional sport, even if you are like young athlete and you are coming to professionals, you are in kind of informational vacuum. You are all your mind is in sport if you want to become serious athlete, and you don't have time to think of something else, do business, develop yourself, learn how the world works, talk to people, have relationship with people outside of sports. So all your life is within sports, and you are very intellectual and thinking person. So like when you were an athlete, how did you develop yourself as a person? You mentioned that you had a period when you had injuries and you had time to like rethink your life and prepare to the life outside of sports. But maybe can you give some, on your example, some advices how an athlete can prepare himself for normal life?
Fourth time, I was very fortunate that my mother was a big book lover. So from a very young age, she was always telling me, you have to. I was never forced to do anything by my parents, but you have to read. So I was reading Dostoevsky at the age of 13, not understanding anything. So I read the book.
In Serbian?
In Serbian. I read the book and I read Dostoevsky, but I have no fucking clue what the book was about. But I did it. But as you read a lot, you know, you start to open some different areas of your personality which you didn't know that they were there. Not that I am very intellectual or crazy smart, because I'm not. I would consider myself way more disciplined than I am intellectual or smart or whatever. But love towards literature and reading happened because of my mother from a very young age. This later on, even though I still do read, translated into developing yourself from the curiosity in other areas. I used to read a lot of philosophy when I was younger, which essentially what philosophy is seeking for the truth, which may be different for everybody else. But this then later on translated, okay, this is the life that I'm living, this is what I'm doing, and I do also other things like playing video games and everything else. But I want to see also what is here. And let me read this author, let me listen to this podcast, let me think how this can be done. And you know, repetition, when you do it, that's why I say I consider myself way more disciplined than I am smart or intellectual, but thank you for the attributes. It becomes second nature. It becomes normal. Again, this is something that I like doing. You know, and this is why I have passion in doing it. I don't have to do it, but I do it because I like it. And then when you continuously improve, like have the discipline to have curiosity to improve yourself, then some ideas start to go into your mind. When you mix this with, again, being fortunate to have a mentor, modest family that understands the value of 100 euros, and 5-6 years of injuries, which means more time spent outside of the tour, which means more time spent into curiosity, more time thinking in, okay, I want to learn something else, more time thinking also in, okay, I want to keep this quality of life. What do I have to do? This then later translates into, okay, I became somebody who I didn't know that I would be. Like if somebody would tell me that, let's say 10 years ago, when we founded a club of 3 tennis courts, that right now we would have
people from around the world coming to you.
I want to say with all the luxury and everything, I think over 100 courts worldwide. And that brands like Four Seasons or world's top hospitality brands would wear a Tipsarevic badge. Or that I would open an academy in whatever, Germany or LA or whatever, I would probably say no. So it's not like that I was this young entrepreneur visionary that knew that this will be
in 10 years.
No. I don't know where I will be even in 10 years from now. I know that sports and tennis will be a part of my life, but maybe
So
I will do something
step
else.
by step.
It went step by step. But when you have the discipline to continuously work, I think you have endless possibilities in life. If you don't work, then you don't improve. Therefore, you don't grow.
And can I ask you about your childhood? Because when this Yugoslavia NATO bombing, you were like 15, 16 years old, like your prime age of a youngster. So like back then at that period, how just was the life? How you played tennis? Where did you live?
I lived everywhere. It wasn't an easy time, but being thankful to my parents for both wars. When I was 6 and 7 years old, when the war between Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia and everything happened, it was a terrible time. You know, even though I just started playing tennis, it was a terrible time for our country and for our nation. But I never felt it. You are 7, 8 years old, you don't know nothing. You want to eat and sleep and watch cartoons. The second war, or the NATO bombing, or the NATO aggression towards Serbia, I felt a little bit more. But again, I don't want to sound like, okay, because of these 2 wars, I have the strength of... No, not really. I think it made me tougher. It made me experience something that young boys of 15, 16 could never imagine. But being thankful to my parents and coach at the time, tennis was my primary focus. I was very good at it because I was, as a junior or a young player, I was #1 in Europe under 12, 14, 16, and number 1 in the world under 18 as 1 year younger, so as 17. So when you have this gigantic, focus in your life, which is tennis, the only thing you care about, which is a big burden for a young kid, that your parents are safe and they are not killed by bombs, and you don't really care about anything else. So, I could tell you a sob story that, it wasn't easy, but, I believe Serbian and especially Russian people are tough. We can take it. So, and if nothing, this makes you stronger.
And you mentioned that as a youngster, you were one of the top players in Serbia or in Europe at your age?
In Europe. I was at that time, the rankings under 12, 14, and 16, maybe even today, are called ETA, ETA, European Tennis Association. I believe it or not, I had even though I was number 8, I had a much more successful junior career than senior. I was rarely losing matches. In juniors, as 1 year younger, I remember there was this swing of 7, 8 tournaments finishing with Australian Open, and I won all of them. Barely losing sets. But
did it come naturally to you
I was good. I was completely fucking crazy, doing tattoos at the age of 15, going out at the age of 13, but crazy work ethic. I could go out, I could stay late, I could do whatever stupid stuff.
Lots of energy.
But what I told you before about the mistakes that I made as a businessman, if my coach is telling me you are showing up tomorrow at 8, there's no option that anything, if a meteor comes and hit, I am there 7:15, even though I, maybe went out the night before, or, went late to bed or didn't eat good or drink or whatever, there's no option that I don't show up. So, but because of this hard-working ethics, this is combined with obviously some talent. This is why I was so good.
And when you are, let's say, a successful athlete at a young age, how not to in Russia we say catch a star, not to think that you are too important, that you already know everything, that it comes easy to you, and you think you are God and unbeatable, and then usually people, when something goes wrong, they get lost in their career, in life. They, like you said, you partied, you went out, but you felt when to stop, right? When to, if you have practice at 8, that you have to be at practice at 8, not to skip it, thinking that I already good enough, I don't need to practice or whatever. So your advice to kids and the parents who kind of on the way to achieve something, how to be always hungry to development and success?
I think we are at number 5 now when I'm saying I'm fortunate. Okay, so let's go 5. I was fortunate because I had a Russian coach called Roman Savochkin that was, he was very strict and tough, but since I had a very good upbringing, I believe in this, and don't want to put myself now up, but I believe in this honor, when you make deals. And this is also why this translated later on, because I believe I'm a good deal maker. When I say good, I don't mean I'm a shark. I mean, when you make deals with long-term partners, it has to be good for both sides. Otherwise, sorry, I don't work on Wall Street. It's not like I try to squeeze the last possible dollar from every deal. I don't mean by that. Well, what was I saying? If we made a deal that this is what we do, and this is where we go, and this is our goal as a team, because it's not me, it's me and my coach and fitness coach and my family. I was being brought up from my parents that this is the deal. And there's a famous, you probably know, sentence by Kobe Bryant. This is why he's my favorite athlete of all time. You don't renegotiate yourself with yourself or the deal that you made.
The deal was what, to become professional player?
The deal was that I made a deal with my coach and family and with myself. I want to try to become a professional player. And in order to do that, I think it's like very simple military stuff. In order to do this, I will, at least on the tennis court, do everything what is asked from me. Everything that I need to do. Now, this was one of the reasons why I didn't become better earlier in my junior career. I also had this period of catching the star. And this was after I finished my junior career, because I was number one in the world, but I played with boys. I played with a handful of boys all the time. And then all of a sudden, you play with men when you start playing satellites at that time, or futures or stuff. And it's not that I trained less. I trained always the same. I always had this deal that I'm a big believer in repetition and volume. I don't believe that, okay, I just train a little bit and I'm that good so I can do it. At least I wasn't that good or talented. But I started not really behaving as I should. So it took me like 2.5 years to break into the top 100. And
to
then
adjust to professional.
To adjust to, okay,
opponents.
What do you actually need to do outside, like on the court and outside of the court? And I still believed, and I learned a lot from Novak, even though he's 3 years younger than me. The year where I broke through into the top 10, I didn't practice more. It's just that I adjusted certain things in my nutrition, sleeping, yoga, stretching, things outside of the tennis court, which combined with the work helped me to come that year from 49 to number 9. So I believe it's also outside. I think the first part for young kids is that there is a cultural upbringing from their house and their family, and later on with their coach. This is what we do, and this is, I don't want to talk or argue with you about this. Hard work, repetition, hard work, repetition. And then later on from this, you start adjusting your outside of the court habits, whether or not you are too much on Instagram or TikTok or watching YouTubes or movies, or when are you going to bed? Are you eating pizza every night, or are you taking care? Are you drinking soda? Like small things. But my number one advice would be to the parents, first of all, and to the players, discipline in practice. You have to show up. No matter how tired you are, how injured you are, how bad do you feel, how much you have to study for your school, you have to show up.
If you made a deal.
You made a deal. There's no going back. No renegotiating, no changing. Because if you renegotiate and change, I believe that the energy is changing. Okay, if you renegotiate the deal because of legitimate reasons, like in tennis when you say you're injured or God forbid you're sick or something like that, this is fine. But as soon as you start renegotiating, you are kind of weakening your character. You know, this doesn't mean that you are not allowed to adjust, because in order to reach a top level, you have to adjust. I'm not saying, okay, this is the deal I made. You know, one of the most stupidest sentences, this is what we used to do 20 years ago. No, you're always free to adjust the deal. But the rule number one of the deal is you have to show up. There's no way that you don't show up. Do what you have to do. Do your work, even if it's the worst and the shittiest practice ever. You still showed up and you did it.
Because if you give up on something small, then you give up on something bigger, and
I'll tell you this: the year when I broke into the top 10, my record with beating top 10 players was worse than in all previous years. What I want to say by that, you make good results by consistency of hard work, not by being flashy and doing one or two things good, at least not in tennis professional career. Also, I believe the same thing in business. Very few successful entrepreneurs did something immediately, overnight, with their first great idea. Like even if you listen to,
and usually they end up bad.
Even if you listen to Jeff Bezos, he said Amazon was not profitable for 8-9 years. Imagine how many meetings he took to convince investors to hold and hold and hold and hold. And I agree. What I also like again, I don't like, but I do it in order to improve myself. I also like to listen to stories of failed entrepreneurs, because it's easy that we listen to great stories about Elon Musk or Warren Buffett or whatever. But I think also a big part of your growth is to listen to stories of entrepreneurs that failed, the bad decisions they made. What could have they done different? Same thing in terms of watching your matches when you play like shit. Not watching when you come to that level, not watching YouTube highlights of 10 minutes and say, wow, this is great.
And how to work with confidence? Because let's say if we take the opposite situation, a lot of kids who, let's say, work a lot, but they are not kind of too much confident in themselves, and when it's some stressful situation, they have shaking hands, they are kind of don't believe in themselves. So for those who are naturally don't have super confidence, how they can grow it, or whether you have it or you don't?
I don't want to go into an area of expertise that I don't understand, so I'm going to answer this question as a tennis coach, because one of my jobs is I am essentially a tennis coach. I know I'm going back again to the discipline and rules and everything else, but some of us have more, some of us have less confidence. The greatest players in any area of sport of all time also feel nervous. Novak also probably feels nervous. It's not that they don't. One of the things that I believe is number one rule is be quiet. What do I mean by that? A lot of and I don't want to teach anybody how to raise their child because I don't know. Again, I am addressing this as a coach. A lot of the times you're hearing parents telling to kids, express your feelings, express your emotions. Now, I'm not saying that you should keep your emotions locked down, but when you're in a cage, when I say cage, I mean the tennis court, not the octagon ring, keeping your negative emotions in is making you stronger. We need to use our emotions in artificial fist pumping to get the best out of this situation. A lot of the times, kids that don't have natural confidence, and I see this even in our academies often, tend to be very negative and pessimistic when things are going bad. So this is rule number one. When things are going bad and you feel you want to say, I am bad, I am terrible, again, it's one of those days, shut up. You don't talk. You keep this emotion inside you, because this, by not saying it out loud, is actually making you stronger. This is the second stage of artificially convincing yourself that you are not a piece of shit when you have this urges of not self-confidence. Because before you tell to yourself or even lie to yourself, I am the best, the first thing you need to do is not say that you are the worst. And more often than not, kids that don't have confidence they cannot come to stage 2 because they start by doing something wrong in any sport. I'm missing. I knew that I would miss. I'm just saying some of the stupid comments that I hear. Later on, when you come to the moment of, convincing yourself that you're the greatest athlete of all time, or lying to yourself, a big part of this, I believe, has the coach. So when, again, I don't know how is it in other sports, but I imagine it's very similar. When you feel not confident, or when you feel nervous, or when you feel stress, or when you feel fear, you are, and I think this is even scientifically proven, you are blocked from most of the reactions that you can physically do or mentally think. Meaning, what is the right decision? You don't know what's your name. When you feel that you don't have confidence and you're shaking, if somebody would grab you and say, what's your name? You wouldn't know, okay, what's my name? So in this part, we are at number 6 now. I was fortunate enough that I was taught very early, again, I'm going back to the military regime, the rules. When you feel stress and when you feel nervous, this is what you do. And I'm not talking about what do you think. Because I'll shortly jump to a different topic and then come back. I'm a big believer that, especially in this young age, with discipline of your behavior, you are controlling your thoughts. You've probably heard that there is this way, when I control how I think and how I breathe, this is how I will act. In these moments of feeling nervous or non-confidence or whatever, it's actually completely opposite. You can control, you just need to be disciplined. What do you do? You can control not to throw your racket. You can control not to talk shit about yourself. You can control how you act. You cannot control whether or not, like a cloud in the sky, the initial thought will come, I'm a piece of shit. But you can control not to say it. So same like in everything in life. When you continuously, these things will come to you. They come to the greatest athletes of all time, like what's going on. But in continuous repetition, in learning how not to react on these thoughts, essentially this doesn't hurt you. This doesn't even come to your mind essentially at one point.
So you cut it from beginning.
You cut it from the beginning. And the first thing is you don't say it. In order later on to convince yourself that this is not true. But purely from the technical aspect, coach needs to play a big role, because okay, we can say now and talk and sing Kumbaya that I'm the best and greatest. Okay, what the fuck do I do when I feel like this? I was fortunate that with my coach, I had rules in terms of when you feel nervous and when you feel tight and when your shoulders go up, whatever, this is what you do. So it's like you give somebody a carrot or you give a dog a bone to say, okay, this is what I focus on. This is my star. This is what I follow, and I don't. And even I put a part of the psychological blame to the coach. It's not my fault if I miss, because my coach told me to do this. So when you follow this and you learn to keep your emotions intact and artificially, because we're talking about kids that have no confidence, artificially to pump yourself with the fist, it doesn't impact you so bad.
What qualities athlete, or let's say tennis player, should develop in himself outside of sports in order to be a more successful athlete? Let's say, I mean, there's part of sports where you do technical preparation, physical preparation, but you practice 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 2 hours a day, and another 20 hours you are out of the court. So what qualities in yourself should you work on those hours when you are outside of the practices in order to be more successful as an athlete and as a person?
I want to say first that it's way more challenging for kids right now than it was for me when I was young, meaning that it's way more difficult right now. Simply because...
More distractions.
Exactly. With the existence of, I'm sounding
Social media.
very old now. I want to say internet. And then later on, everything that followed internet, online gaming, social media, video, I want to say virtual reality, which is right around the corner. You are getting your fix of dopamine much easier now than you were when I was younger, let's say 20 years ago. So I want to say there's not a direct answer what are the qualities as a formula of success, but anything that you can grab to do in your spare time, which is contributing to you becoming more productive. I don't want to talk better person because, okay, maybe something for me has more value than for somebody else or less. But in terms of productivity, trying to find something that honestly you know. I believe most of the kids and their parents, they know deep inside the hobbies that they do, which are making them more productive in any areas of life. This could be somebody may have a passion towards nutrition, towards reading, towards, I don't know, photography. Like some hobbies and some passion outside of this part, this monster that is taking 3, 4, 5 with transport 6 hours of your day, that the other 6 to 8 hours when you're alive, that they are not all spent on Instagram and YouTube and silly, stupid stuff that you just... I'm not saying you shouldn't do it and you shouldn't watch TV or whatever, but this needs to be in moderation. I'm a big believer in moderation. You have several examples of greatest of all times, like Novak or whatever, Ronaldo or LeBron James or whatever, that they're obsessed with every single detail. But they didn't start like this. These guys didn't start at the age of 13 being obsessed what is exactly what I eat. But they started similar to what I told you with the discipline part. Okay, I'm curious about books or curious about video editing or curious about something that is enhancing my views as a person and becoming more productive. And then later on, you adapt and enhance these views and go towards something that is more of your interest. So I think just try as much as possible to create good habits that you are passionate about, that are increasing your productivity. Whether the area of life, it doesn't really matter. We're talking about young players.
Yeah. And maybe those habits will even help you in life further on.
I believe almost 100% they will. In my example, I could never say that having good habits about, let's say, reading books that I don't understand, that I didn't understood, created good habits about curiosity of let me see what is here of business, because this essentially was time, more like high quality time spent outside of the tennis court. But again, when I was young, like you couldn't really do, you know, time wasting as you could do now. A lot of the, again, I'm no saint. A lot of the times I end up, you know, putting my head up and say, shit, I was on the phone watching YouTube or whatever for 3 hours. Imagine, and I'm a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
Imagine what this is for a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
With all the anxieties and fears and friends and everything. Again, I love technology. I think technology is great. I think it's seriously enhancing the quality of our lives. But in terms of educating our kids or young people, I think we have to be very careful. For example, my daughter is 10 years old. She got a brand new iPhone when she was 9. But we made a deal. This is the screen time every day. So her average screen time at the end of the week cannot go over 40 minutes.
A week or per
A day.
A day.
Because she has to answer messages and this and that. So again, I'm a big, I could say, okay, here's a brand new iPhone. You can be on it 5 minutes a day. No. I am aware that, and I got a lot of shit for it. Like, why are you buying her an iPhone, this and that? But I believe this is unavoidable. They will have to grow up with this. So the sooner they learn how to manage it and maintain it, the better it will be for them. So I'm not saying no technology. I'm not saying put a lock on whatever TikTok and never go on it. Just do it in moderation.
Janko, and last question that I wanted to discuss. You used to be a world-class athlete and you performed, competed against same world-class athletes. What do you think all of you, let's say, have in common in terms of do those people who achieved something highest level in sports, do they have something similar in mind which brought them over there, or every, let's say, champion is different?
Thank you for the kind words, but I wouldn't consider myself a champion. I would consider myself as a ex-tennis player that had a good career. So if you talk about, let's say, if this is even possible, level of professional athletes that have achieved the success similar to me, there's a big part of us. There's a lot of us. If I could take one part in saying this is the reason why, I think there's a multitude of reasons, but I would say doing the work when you don't feel like it. Because people, tend to say that it's rocket science. It's really not. Tennis is, again, a very complex sport. There has to be a level of, I think we're at number 9, fortune, that you have the right coach early, the right education early in terms of how you are being brought up, the right working ethics. But I want to say to have a successful professional career, and whether you are number 5 or 8 or 20 or 50, I would say the one thing that is in common is that we did the work when we didn't feel like doing it. And the more you come to the top or to the peak, it's very similar like you're climbing the mountain, the air. Like there is less and less oxygen, which means there is more and more details that you need to take care of. So if you look at, again, this is a completely different level of athletes than I ever was, but if you look at all of these champions or greats, especially with the new and modern technology that sports medicine and sports recovery has to offer, it's this part, which is, okay, this is normal. Like I'm practicing 5-6 hours a day. Obviously not as much for some of the guys which are older, like whatever, Novak or LeBron or whatever. I'm talking about somebody at when they are strong,
In prime.
25, 26, 28, when you are, like a lion eating everything that you see. This comes like normal. Like we don't need to talk while I practice. But I also take care of, do I drink still water or I drink Coke? Do I go to bed at 11 or do I go at 10? Do I wake up at 5 to do yoga or do I wake up at 8? So the earlier you start creating, and this was a good question that you asked me, the earlier you start creating these habits, I believe that a human psyche, and especially a psyche of a young mind, can only take so much. So when you decide and make a deal with yourself that you're going to do this, the first part is always discipline. I am disciplined that I will not do this, or that I will do this. But discipline will only bring you so far, because discipline in its nature is requesting energy by default. So when we tend to have discipline that I will not eat this chocolate cake, or I will not go out with my friends or whatever, all of these small decisions are requesting a certain amount of energy from us, which we have as it fits in this bottle. We don't have more. You know the saying, 1 liter fits in 1 liter. It cannot be more. So every single time when we make these decisions purely as a discipline factor, we spend a little bit of energy on it. And then until we are empty. This is why I said the discipline part only holds you so far. Because if you're continuously disciplined, at one point you will burn out. But what a lot of young players, parents and coaches need to realize, that when this discipline is lasting for a certain period of time, a part of this discipline, or later on a complete part, turns into habits. So these habits, especially good habits, don't require energy, which means is leaving more room for improvement. When you wake up in the morning, I take a stupid example. More often than not, especially for young kids, I'm talking about, let's say, my daughter. I don't really want to brush my teeth, but you don't think about it. Should I do it or should I not do it? So this process of brushing your teeth is not requiring energy from you. You still have your energy here. Which means that when you create good habits and you don't need discipline for them, okay, it's normal for me to wake up at 5. It's normal for me to do this work or to do that. When this discipline is created into a habit, I have room to, let me add something more. So not only that I will, again, I'm talking out of my ass, that I will brush my teeth and not eat a chocolate cake and wake up at 5, I will also read 30 pages a day, which in the beginning will take discipline, because my habit would be, let me go on YouTube and watch something, lion versus tiger, like something stupid. But if you hold, after a week, a month, 3 months, I don't want to be on YouTube. I want to read 30 pages. And this becomes natural. And then you take these 30 pages and you put it on brushing my teeth, not eating chocolate cake, waking up at 5, reading 30 pages. Let me see what is here. I also want to, whatever. Discipline turning into habit essentially creates more energy for curiosity to do other things, so you just build your block and grow essentially as a person, and then later on as an athlete.
Janko, thank you for this conversation.
Sorry, I know that the answers were too long, but
it's actually very interesting, and even for myself, I think I learned a lot of things which maybe I thought in this way, but you said it in more organized way, and hearing from you who more experienced and person who has bigger achievements, it means that I was maybe thinking in also the right way. So thank you for this conversation. It was amazing. And
thank you very much for having me. As you know, I don't do almost any interviews, but this was an absolute pleasure. So thank you for having me.